The call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome back to the Pod at the Palace. Hope everybody's doing well and ready to get this weekend started off right. Recording here from Colonial Williamsburg, Virginia today, which is where Michelle and I technically got married. I told you guys that we were out here doing a little baby moon action, finding out the gender of the kiddo. We're excited about that. And then we're going to be in Williamsburg on Friday and then make the short drive over to Virginia Beach later that day for the rest of the weekend. And I'm looking forward to sharing some beach vibes with you guys on the show the next couple of days. Not that you'll care, but I do. It's going to be a nice change of pace. This is a different backdrop than what we're used to in the Pod at the Palace studios. I think the ocean and the sunshine and everything out there is going to be a little bit better than all of that. So definitely excited for that. Two very different themes to the show today as we start with the future and then we wrap with the past, kind of what I'm looking at here. I've got some shooting stats and projections to share with you guys to see what you think. And then just a couple fun stories to wrap the show that I think you guys will probably get a kick out of. So lots of nostalgia when you come back to the place that you got married, but it's kind of crazy how much Razorback basketball news has dropped while I've been here in the past. Like legitimately, it's insane. But let's get into the show. We'll talk about that at the end. Let's start maybe with our vibe check presented by our friends over at Basis Health. You know the drill. They are absolutely redefining and changing the way that healthcare is delivered by providing those mobile medical visits at the comfort of your own home. If you don't have time to make a doctor's appointment, you don't want to sit in a waiting room, you feel a little bit more comfortable when people are coming to your territory, coming on your turf, they'll do that. A doctor will come right to your home for urgent care, primary care, IV hydration, and more. Basis Health, they're here for you when and where you need them the most. Make sure you learn more today. Check out the website, basishealth.org. Okay. So my thought process here, had somebody DM me on X and basically just ask the question, like, if can Arkansas as constructed currently, assuming Carter Knox is back, can they match their output from 3-point range from last season? Just match it. Like, do they have that in them? That's a fair question. In fairness, also, like, it's not a high bar to set because they weren't very good from out there. So I hope so, but it's not a given. I mean, you're going to need some things to go right there. Like we've mentioned, bad shooting team on low volume a year ago that lost its, 3 best volume shooters. And they haven't added a single made college 3-pointer to the roster. So it's easy to look at that and go, are they going to get worse? Can that even happen? And disclaimer here, because I know it's coming in the comments. Yes, I believe Arkansas is going to address this issue before finalizing the roster. I do. But I just want to answer the question here because I thought it was interesting. And I had a 2-hour flight where I had nothing to do but a lot of math and thinking this through. So we did it. The too long didn't read version of how Arkansas can go about doing this. It's pretty simple. One, a number of guys improve for you organically, like your returners. 2, Malik Thomas, I think, has to come and replace the production of someone that you lost. But, hopefully with better accuracy, but I'm talking volume wise here. Whether that be, Nelly Davis or Boogie or whatever. And then the last part of that is I think Darius Acuff needs to end up being a serviceable or better 3-point shooter. And there's reason to believe that that's something he can do. So, and also, like, no need to expect anything help-wise from beyond the arc from Malik Ewan and Nick Pringle. Like, I'm not going to talk about them while we talk about this because, well, they're going to be getting their threes the old-fashioned way, right? The and ones, the hoop and harms underneath the rim. Neither one of them made a 3 in college, so I'm not just going to sit here and calculate them into any projections because that would be foolish, in my opinion. Hey, if they hit a few, great. That's icing on the cake. It's a cherry on top, right? But let's start with the returners here. I'm going to talk through all this, and I got a graphic that I'll share with you at the end. We'll start with DJ Wagner. Now, DJ, he shot 30% on 41 makes this past season, 3.75 attempts per game. And this is a very hotly debated topic with DJ, right? Because he did shoot 40% through the new year, like through all of the non-conference schedule from 3. It's really good, man. And then he shot 26.2% afterwards. That's not very good, man. Right. And so what you have to wonder here is like, what caused the drop? Was it because the competition increased in SEC play? Was it because he was moved back on the ball after playing off ball for the entire non-conference slate when Boogie went down? Did it have anything to do with season fatigue just from leading the SEC in minutes? And the dude was playing nearly 40 minutes a game down the stretch of the year. The way I see it, I don't think it really mattered. I mean, pick your poison, I guess is what I'm saying here. But at the end of the day, when I look at it for evaluation and projecting this thing out, he's 2 years into his career, and he's a 30% shooter from three on roughly a little over a make per game. So where is that? And I'm not saying that he can't improve, but I'm just saying I can't justify projecting a huge jump here. I mean, I imagine he, either sticks about right there in his wheelhouse, or maybe he could drop the attempts just a little bit and become slightly more efficient. Fine. But for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to put him right back where he was a year ago. And I'm going to say 40 made threes at 32%. So just a little bit more, just narrow down the attempts a little bit more efficient there. That's where I think he's going to wind up being at. And remember, our goal here is to see, can we get this Arkansas team as currently constructed to the same level of three-point production as they had last year, after losing Boogie, after losing Nelly, after losing Big Z, right? Carter Knox, this is where you can start dreaming big, I think, probably. Was 35 of 100 on the year, so 35%. But we all remember the struggles early. I mean, my guy missed more wide open catch and shoot threes than anybody I've ever seen in non-conference play. It was an adjustment period from him from overtime elite. The game was slowing down for him, and it did, because he also shot over 45% from three from the Kentucky game through the rest of the year. And, the way I look at it with Carter, comes back to Arkansas, he's going to be on the ball more. He's going to be relied on to do more. He's going to get more shots up because he's going to be your guy. But I also think that his strength is on the attack and getting downhill and getting to the rim and finishing through contact. So I don't think he's suddenly going to become a crazy volume shooter from deep, but I think he's naturally going to take more and make more just because the ball is going to be in his hands more. So he had 2.8 attempts per game last year. Carter did. Let's just modestly up that to 4 a game. So a little more than 1 added 3 per game taken. If he does that, and then we just assume a modest increase from him, from his shooting, because we could say, all right, the dude shot 46% for, the last third of the season, he's going to be a 40% three-point shooter. Or we could say he shot 25% for a majority of the year. Let's just meet in the middle. Let's say he goes from 35% just to 36.5. Good, very good, not great. But that's like what you get sometimes with a scorer and not a shooter. I think that's reasonable, maybe conservative. But if you get that, then you've got Carter shooting 36.5%, and those threes go from 35 made threes to 53 on the season. So an increase for sure, but it's not crazy. It's not projecting anything that seems silly or foolish. Billy Richmond, listen, he's forever going to be downhill Bill in my heart. And I don't get the sense that the three ball is ever going to be a huge, huge part of his game, nor should it. He was 2 of 16 last year, so about half an attempt per game that he took. Let's move him up to about 1 attempt per game. He was taking more towards the end of the season. Let's give him that Adu Thero arc. Adu Thero shot 25% from three last year. We're going to go with 8 makes for Billy Richmond. You're like, 8? Man, that's kind of harsh, bro. 25%. It's a 400% improvement from where he was this past season. All right. So let's do that and not get carried away. And again, if he strokes it, then great. I mean, it's just good news for Arkansas. Trevin Brazile. Now, this is interesting because Trevin's about a 36% shooter from three over the course of his career, who shot 36% from three last season. So what I'm going to do here is keep Trevin at 36%. We're just going to up his volume, right? That's where I'm at here. Could he be a guy that, is shooting a couple a game and he shoots at 40%? Yeah, he absolutely could. But I'm going to keep him right where he is in his wheelhouse for the course of his career and up the volume, because I think that's what they really need from him. He's never made more than 25 threes in a season. But he's also had a freshman year where it took him a while to get in the rotation at Mizzou. I think it was 11 of 33 that year. And then he had the ACL year. And then he had the year post ACL where he wasn't right and he had to shut it down for a while. And then last year, I mean, he didn't really get cozy until Adu went down in mid-late February in terms of rotation there. But now, looking ahead, I mean, is it pretty clear at this point? It seems like Cal has given that man the keys to the power forward spot, banking on him playing as well all season as he did down the stretch of this past year. So where I'm at with Trevin, we won't get too crazy, but we're going to up his volume quite a bit. Sign me up for 45 made threes from TB, which is really just asking him to average out at, a little bit less than 1.5 per game. I think that feels fair. He'll have some where he goes 0 for 4. He'll have some like we've seen where he'll go 5 for 6, but for the most part, he'll go, 1 for 3, 2 for 5, and it just kind of balances out. And for what that's worth for Trevin, we're talking about, hey, 45 made threes at 36%. I think that's fair for him. That just about gives you what you had in Big Z, believe it or not. Big Z made 47 threes on the year, and he shot 37%. Now, for the longest, he was a lot higher than that, and it is, I think that's kind of a testament to how, I don't want to say bad, how poorly he shot late in the year. Like once Jonas started getting right, Big Z started getting wrong, and he was falling out of favor in the rotation. Did not make very many threes at all. Did he even make one in the postseason, like at all? I don't know that he did. Anyway, doesn't matter. He's out of here. He's Illinois. He's Brad Underwood's problem now. Malik Thomas. Guys, as far as I can tell, any reasonable pathway to matching or surpassing, last year's shooting, it's got to involve Malik Thomas giving you volume. It just has to. And, with overtime elite now as a senior, he shot, a hair under 40% and more than 8 attempts per game. That's a lot. That's chucking it. 8.6 attempts per game to be exact. That's getting him up there, man. And, he's coming from the same program that Carter Knox was, shot it significantly better his senior year at OTE than Carter Knox did. So we're going to account for that. But I'm definitely expecting kind of that same adjustment phase. Welcome to the SEC, if you will. And I don't think he's going to be firing away that much. If he's shooting 9 threes a game as a true freshman in the SEC, then he's probably shooting at 40%. He's probably just, become Jordan Hawkins right away. I'm not going to project that. I'm also not going to say it's crazy, but let's be conservative with Leak. Let's cut his attempts from high school in half, basically. We'll go 4.5 attempts per game. And I'll go as far as to drop his percentage to 35%, which could, very easily be low, but I think I'm putting him in the range here of where Boogie and Carter were coming in as true freshmen last year. So if you're calculating that by 35 games, which is basically what I'm doing here is regular season plus 4, SEC tournament, NCAA tournament, accounting for that, that's 55 makes. So this could very well be low. I mean, Boogie Flan, he was on pace for 60, 70, 75 makes last season before he got hurt. And so there's really no reason why a guy like Malik Thomas, he's gonna play. He's gonna have his opportunities there. He could get to that point. We're going to be a little bit conservative. And you'll understand why I'm doing this when we get to the end here. Just a couple more. Darius Acuff. So he's an interesting one, right? Because he shot 36% plus as a junior between high school and on the EYBL. And his high school, it's not just any high school, right? I mean, he's playing in the Scholastic League. It's IMG, it's Montverde, it's Link Academy, it's all those schools. So really good competition. And then he shot about 30% as a senior. So he dropped off from his junior year to his senior year, averaging about 7 attempts per game. Struggled from 3 in the McDonald's All-American game. I think he's like 1 of 8, and then he shot it really well in the Nike Hoop Summit, shot it really well in the Iverson Classic. Recently, he's streaky, is what I'm getting at. He is a better shooter than DJ Wagner. There's more promise in that jumper with Acuff. There's zero doubt in my mind. I'm 100% confident in saying that. But he's also a true freshman who's going to be coming into the SEC, going through that adjustment phase. So I'm going to let those two things cancel out with your point guards. And I'm just going to say, let's go with Acuff equaling DJ. He could be way better. He could be a little worse. I think that's the range here. Well, I'm going to do the same thing as I did with DJ. 40 makes at 32%. It's a hard call for me because he's going to put him up. That much I know. Like I said, I could see him, even sub 30% just a little bit, kind of like DJ was as a freshman, has his moments, but struggles with consistency. I could also see him closer to his junior form with better shot selection that he's going to have. Fewer attempts, being in that 34 or 35% range. That wouldn't shock me either. Now, if you're going with this squad where you've just kind of got your 8 guys there, that's going to mean that Isaiah Sealy and Kareem Rattel, they're going to have to play for you. It doesn't have to be crazy, but like your top dogs there would be getting the heavy bulk of the minutes, but these two would probably be giving you 8 to 10 minutes a game apiece. So they're going to make some shots. I mean, even think about like Joseph Pinion, for example. He didn't play that much for Arkansas as a true freshman. Wound up getting in most games. Some games played more than other. Had a couple big performances. I could see that from a guy like Sealy. Let's go with a dozen threes at 33% for Sealy. Nothing wild. And then a half dozen at 30% from Kareem Rattel. So I feel like we were kind of conservative here, and I was surprised, but here we go. What you have here, if you look at all the percentages, right, and if you're listening, I'll throw them at you real quick. But what it adds up to is Wagner and Acuff giving you a little bit over 1 3 made per game, 32%. Malik Thomas and Carter Knox, both a little over, 1.5 threes per game, 35, 36%. Billy Richmond, not so much. Sealy, Rattel, not going to give you much volume. And then Trevin giving you about, 1.25 per game, 36%. What that would give you, if it worked out that way, is Arkansas finishing the 25-26 season at 7.37 made threes per game. Well, that would actually be more, believe it or not, than they made this past year because it was 7.03. So nearly a half three per game. And then they would be a full percentage point higher, knocking it down up to 33.7% from 32.7. So that's I think a reasonable pathway to Arkansas being a better shooting team, or at least matching that without adding anyone. That's the biggest thing there. So it would require no regressions, from your returners, obviously. Health, you would have to have. Your freshmen would have to translate. You got to hit on both Acuff and Thomas. That's going to be critical for just the success of the season at all. But I don't think it's outrageous. Maybe conservative in some cases, but like I said, I could see guys like Leak and Knox giving you a lot more than what we projected here. And then, maybe some other guys fall off, but I think it evens out. Here's the thing about it, though. Still, that figure, if Arkansas hit it, would probably rank in the bottom 2-3 of the SEC in makes per game. And it would probably still be in the bottom half of the country in percentage. 33.7% would have been 184th nationally last year. And 7.37 made threes per game would have been 213th. So there you have it. But getting to both of those marks, in fairness, because I've been the guy that said, hey, I want them to go can we go from a bad shooting team to average here? And just show some improvement. Going from where you were to here would jump you up about 50 spots in both volume and percentage. So there's that. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, we'll just go out here and add a Jameer Watkins or an international piece or a more projectable rotation 4-man who can stretch it, whatever, and then do this again when the roster is finalized. And I think there's a pretty good chance that we're going to be projecting Arkansas to be a fair step up from where they were from 3, actually. I was kind of surprised. And I tried not to look at the overall stuff too much as I was going through. I was trying to take it individual by individual and be conservative. And then I added it all up and did the math afterwards. I was trying to do a good job about not trying to reach last year's goal, but to try to be consistent with how I felt these guys might be able to do. And it turns out there's a pathway. Because it was easy enough for me to look at it and be like, I don't know, man, they lost their best shooters and they haven't added anybody. They're going to suck worse. It's not necessarily going to be the case. So it made me feel a little bit better about their situation. That's what we'll say. Feel a little bit better about it. Hey guys, the Pod of Palace is also presented by our friends over at HD Roofing and Construction. You know, those storms can hit unexpectedly, and it's become very expectedly, it feels like, in Fayetteville, at least over the course of the last month. When that happens, be sure to contact HD Roofing for your peace of mind with a free inspection. My man Garrett come out there and took care of us. We feel a lot better about our situation after he was stomping around up there on the roof and letting us know what things look like up there. When you choose HD Roofing, you can rely on professionalism, top quality materials, and expert installation for all of your roofing needs. Make sure you check out hdarkansas.com for more. Get set up for a free inspection of your own. Okay, final segment here. Hopefully, the math exam here it quenched your thirst for the pod, right? Trust me, I'm looking forward to combine stuff heating up here into the weekend, and the more real, tangible portal talk and final roster piece stuff. That's all coming. Looking forward to that. But I am here in Williamsburg, Virginia, a place I said is obviously near and dear to my heart. My wife and I were married here. We actually took a long vacation one summer, and we just kind of did a tour to wedding venue. What we're doing. We knew we wanted to do kind of a destination wedding because our families are from all over the place. And so we started in one spot and we checked out 3 or 4 different places. I mean, we were in the Poconos, we were at Hilton Head. We had been to Virginia Beach before. I almost took a job here, actually, at one point, a college basketball job. But we didn't. But anyway, it's interesting because, it was like a family resort. Place is called Woodlock in Pennsylvania, where Michelle's family used to go and everything. I thought that was going to be the pick, whether I wanted it to be or not. And I actually liked it. They had a really good time. Hilton Head's Hilton Head, beautiful beaches. It was awesome. When we went to the Virginia Beach stop, we actually literally drove in through a hurricane. Or actually, I think it was still a tropical storm where we caught it, but just horrible weather. I mean, 75-mile-an-hour winds, and the waves were crazy. It was scary. It literally rained on our parade, but something just wound up feeling right about it. And we loved the venue, and we wound up doing it. It's pretty cool sitting on a balcony overlooking the Atlantic during a non-lethal tropical storm hurricane, by the way. But at any rate, it's as much as I want her to believe this, so I hope she's not listening. It's not just my wife that makes this place special to me. It's not. It turns out some of the most vivid Razorback memories, especially on the recruiting trail, happened at times when I've been here. It's every time we're here, something happens. It's nuts. In fact, if you followed me at 24/7 Sports, it became like a running bit of, hey, Curtis, go on vacation, man, so something cool happens. Like, it never failed. And it was almost directly and exclusively correlated to being out here for whatever reason. So as we close the show, I just wanted to quickly share with you a few of the Razorback stories that stick out to me from when we've been out here, in Williamsburg, Virginia Beach, and this entire area. So the second Elite Eight year. So the first year they were in the bubble in Indianapolis the entire time. The second year, it was the crazy travel, right? The SEC tournament, for whatever reason, it was the one-off. It was in Tampa, Florida. So we went from Tampa to Buffalo to San Francisco, and then I flew back to Norfolk, Virginia, to the airport because I had to get back as soon as I could to do the wedding venue stuff, get everything set up. We were doing the meal tasting, like, for the menu, all that. And my wife and my in-laws were already here for this bridal convention thing. So absolutely exhausted. I mean, we had flown literally coast to coast to coast, like back to the other coasts. It was ridiculous. Jet lagged, had no idea what time it was, no idea what was going on. Depressed because Arkansas had just lost to Coach K and Duke. The night before, I flew across the country from San Francisco over to Virginia. I checked in with some national guys, some sources at, around different programs, and the 100% majority consensus was Anthony Black was all set to commit to Gonzaga. In fact, the national guys already had all the graphics and everything ready for. They were all set for it. He was going to do it at the McDonald's All-American game. So I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. I guess that kind of seemed like where it was trending. That sucks. Whatever. So get on the flight the next day, flying all over the place. I wasn't going to pay for the Wi-Fi. Flight lands in Virginia here at Norfolk the next day. And I get off airplane mode. And as soon as I do, like I can't check Twitter, I can't read my text or anything. I get a call from Eric Bossi at 24/7 Sports, top recruiting guy. And he's just like, yo, change of plans, man. Like Arkansas is getting Anthony Black. You got to get ready. I'm like, holy crap. What the heck happened? Like this is like a midnight hour thing. This is crazy. Luckily, I had the story written for weeks just in case. I did it before March Madness even started because I was like, I'm not have time to do this. We're all over the place for the tournament. So cleaned it up, got it ready for publishing right there in the airport while I'm in the terminal. Then I walk down, I'm waiting on my luggage, getting the rental car and everything situated. And I get cold called. This number I didn't recognize, but I'm like, given this day so far, like I got to answer this. And it was Fardal's AMAC, Big Maple. Do you guys remember that name from portal season back in the day? Unbelievable. Big man, Utah Valley, double machine, could stretch it out, could shoot it. Was really, really good. The only transfer in history who has ever received a DM from me that's like, yo, I cover Arkansas, love to talk to you about your recruitment. Here's my number, hit me up. Every now and then you'll get a guy who will shoot you a text or they'll DM you back or whatever, and that's great. The only guy who has ever seen that and called, it freaked me out. I was completely unprepared for it. Great conversation. I was certain that Arkansas was going to get him after that. Certain. And I was probably flying high because of the Anthony Black stuff, but I was like, oh, dude, Big Maple, he's going to be a hog. There we go. And of course, he wound up going to Texas Tech. And we found out why shortly after. But anyway, got the rental car. I'm driving. It's like we just found out it's like an hour drive, but called Gus Arginal as I'm driving the car to meet Michelle and her family. Confirmed everything. Like, oh yeah, dude, like the AB stuff, it's real. And so we're all out at dinner during the McDonald's All-American game. And I've got my phone under the table because they don't get, like, her parents don't get it. They know what I do, but they don't quite understand. Like, the kid's committing, he's going to college, kids go to college all the time, So I'm under the table trying to not be rude. Right. And it's like, all right, watching this. Okay. It's okay, the commitment's coming. Oh, there it is. I'm publishing my story and sending out the tweets from my phone. It was hilarious. Just an insane day running on fumes. I'll never forget that. Well, then we're there for a couple of days here in Williamsburg and getting ready to go out and do some things and, just kind of chill and enjoy just a little mini vacation. And I get a text message from a high school coach in Springfield, Missouri, who I got to know well from my scouting days with Prep Hoops when I was still in St. Louis, and would always go down to Springfield and cover their tournaments and their games because my grandma lived in Branson. So I get to go visit her, watch a bunch of games, make a little money, scout these kids. Cool. It was awesome. And he was like, hey, man, just a heads up. Trevin Brazile is on campus at Arkansas today. And pretty sure he's committing before he leaves. So don't know what you need to do about that, but just letting you know. Okay. So here we go. This is massive, man. So I run over the Hog Sports boards, make a quick post, rapid fire, type up a commitment story for him because I did not have that one written yet. And then we kind of go on about our day because we didn't know what was happening. So this is Colonial Williamsburg, right? Like the original 13 colonies type of stuff over here. And so we're in the area of town where every shop, every restaurant, it's like the old homestead, and every worker there is in full character. Like they're wearing the clothes. It's like if they see a phone, they're like, what is this contraption you have, good sir? Like it was just ridiculous. And we're in this colonial tavern, no electricity because, well, it just wasn't really a thing at the time. It felt like it was 1776, but luckily 5G was still a thing. So I'm doing the same deal, stepping on a flight in this tavern. Michelle across from me, we had a nice charcuterie board. I remember it plain as day, just waiting on it. And then there you go. Trevin Brazile pops, commitment story published from a tavern with no electricity from my phone. So it was crazy. And it's also funny because the place we ate dinner at, and by the way, that's why Arkansas didn't get AMAC. They had their they had their stretch big man in Trevin, but the place that we ate dinner tonight here in Williamsburg, it's called Craft 31. And as it turns out, that is actually where I was when I was with her and her family and published that Anthony Black story. And because of that, like we wound up going there a couple more times. And then like when we would come back and visit and everything, and then we wound up having our rehearsal dinner there. They had a back area, open air, big bar, TVs and everything. It was awesome. And we strategically placed our rehearsal dinner around the Arkansas-Cincinnati football game that year. Cincinnati was coming off the college football playoff. They're coming to Arkansas. It was a big deal. And so we placed it right there to where we could have the games on all the screens. That's how I knew Michelle was a keeper, because she let me watch a little bit of football while we were doing that. So it was pretty cool. More stories that I have, honestly, from being out here. I'll share them throughout the course of the rest of the weekend while we talk about some other things, but those are definitely my favorites. So, hey, don't be surprised. I'm not expecting it. And I'm not hinting it. This is not a crystal ball thing, but don't be surprised if something cool happens in the next 72 hours or so, because it just tends to be that way when we're down here. So be on the lookout. Everybody be on guard. I'll have my phone on me for the noties, and we'll cover it if it happens. But good grief, man, something about this place, it's a little bit different. But that's all I'm saying. I'm getting out of here. Got things to do. Going to enjoy our time down here, but really appreciate everybody for tuning in, sitting through the math exam, and then sitting through story time. Thank you. If you're tapped in at this point, you're a real one. We appreciate you. And don't let anybody ever make you feel stupid for having high expectations for the programs that you love. That's how it should be. That's called fandom, not stupidity. So good on you. Expect big things. Like, I expect Arkansas to have a Final Four roster. And if I don't feel like they have a Final Four roster on paper, I'm still going to expect them to get there, man, because that's what we do. We love it, man. It's all about the Razorbacks. And don't let anybody tell you how to feel and what to be passionate about and what approach to have. Do whatever you want. We love you all the same. We're going to get out of here. It's been Curtis Wilkerson on the Inside Arkansas on the Pod the Palace. You'll have a good day. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning.